Hey, what's going on everybody? It's ETA Prime back here again. Today we're going to be taking a look at the all-new ZOTAC Gaming GeForce RTX 4070 Ti Super. We've got the Trinity Overclock Edition here from ZOTAC, and personally I think it looks really good. With the 4070 Ti Super, we are getting 16 gigabytes of VRAM here, and overall, I mean, on paper, definitely looks like a pretty powerful card. But is it worth the price tag? Now, these are actually coming out of the door the same price as the 4070 Ti when it launched, so you might see some price drops on the 4070 Ti non-Super variant. But with the new RTX 4070 Ti Super, we are getting 16 gigabytes of VRAM instead of 12 with the regular Ti version. We've also got a boost in the CUDA core count and boost in power consumption, so definitely keep that in mind. We'll take a look at all the specs in just a second. But again, we've got the ZOTAC Gaming Trinity Overclock Edition here, and personally I'm a big fan of these ZOTAC cards. We've got all of their awesome features built in, like Ice Storm 2.0, Spectra lighting, freeze tech, and we can even use Firestorm to overclock this pretty easily. ZOTAC is also offering a black variant of the Trinity GeForce RTX 4070 Ti Super, but personally I love the look of this one and I think it's going to go perfect with the build I have planned for it. Now, along with the card itself, we also get our 16-pin power connector. We will need 3 8-pin PCIe connectors in order to get this thing powered up, unless you've got a newer power supply with that 16-pin built in. And we also get a GPU bracket here to alleviate any kind of sag. Overall, yeah, I do think it's a good-looking card. We've got that Spectra lighting over here. Round back, we've got a metal backplate, and this card isn't as large as I thought it would be. It's only coming in at 306.8 millimeters long. This uses ZOTAC's Ice Storm 2.0 fans, so we've got an 11-blade design here, and this is actually a dual BIOS 4070 Ti Super. We can actually go to quiet mode or amplified mode for better cooling. I'm going to be running this in amplified mode. And like I mentioned, we do have beefed up specs because we are working with the GeForce RTX 4070 Ti Super variant. So with this, we get 8,448 CUDA cores, 16 gigabytes of GDDR6X RAM running at a 256-bit bus, boost clock up to 2,625 MHz, 3 display ports, 1 HDMI port, 285-watt TGP, and they do recommend a 700-watt power supply when building a PC around the RTX 4070 Ti Super. And of course, we need to put this inside of a rig to test it out, and what I've got here is something that I've been using quite a bit for a lot of testing. I've got the i7 14700K along with a Cooler Master 360mm AIO, an Aorus Z790 motherboard. I'm going with 32 gigabytes of DDR5 running at 6400 for this test here, and an 850-watt Cooler Master power supply. And once we've got everything assembled and booted up, it looks a little something like this. Personally, love the look of this new card here from ZOTAC Gaming. This thing goes perfect with this all-white build. I also use the included white GPU bracket from ZOTAC. We've got that Spectra lighting over here on the side, and it just goes together really nicely. I think it looks absolutely amazing inside of this case here, but we definitely need to get into some testing here. I've got a bunch that I want to go over. But first things first, give you a quick look. We've got that i7 14700K, 32 gigabytes of DDR5, and of course the ZOTAC Gaming GeForce RTX 4070 Ti Super with 16 gigs of VRAM. ZOTAC Gaming has made it really easy to overclock this card using their Firestorm software. From here, we can do a manual overclock, or you can have it scan the system and automatically overclock your card. For these tests, I'm going to be using the stock clocks here, but remember, we do have the Trinity Overclock Edition. And I'm actually really excited myself to see what this card can do, so we're going to jump right into it with Cyberpunk 2077. Okay, so far so good. This is looking awesome. We're at 1440p ultra settings, no DLSS, no ray tracing right now, and I'm averaging around 98 FPS with the 4070 Ti Super. Not bad at all. I'd be more than happy playing this all day like it is, but of course people out there want to see a little bit of ray tracing on this thing. So we're going to enable it here, and I think we're just going to go to Ray Tracing Ultra, and with this, we're going to leave DLSS at Auto. I did disable it completely at Ultra settings with no ray tracing. So we're going to go up to Ray Tracing Ultra, still at 1440p, DLSS is set to Auto, and I knew this card was going to handle it just fine with that DLSS enabled. This is looking absolutely amazing, and I know it's kind of hard to transfer over to a YouTube video, but this DLSS is beautiful with Cyberpunk 2077. And right now, we're averaging around 104 FPS. Ray Tracing Ultra 1440p. The next thing I wanted to take a look at were some GPU benchmarks, and first up, we've got some OpenCL performance using Geekbench 6. With this card, no overclock, just straight out of the box in this setup, 237,911. This is outstanding, and if you take a look near the top of the list, the GeForce RTX 4080 is listed, coming in at around 240,000 for this OpenCL benchmark. We're not far behind the RTX 4080 like it is right now, so with a little bit of overclocking, I'm sure we could actually match that performance. Next up, we've got the 3D Mark Port Royal benchmark, 15,601. When it comes to Firestrike, we got a total score of 49,957 with this setup, and a graphics score of 59,038. And finally, TimeSpy coming in with a total score, 24,130, and just on the graphics score, 24,641. So at least when it comes to these synthetic benchmarks, this thing is putting down the power, and it's not far behind the RTX 4080. But of course, these are synthetics, and now it's time to get into some real-world gaming. First thing I wanted to test out was the built-in benchmark for Shadow of the Tomb Raider, kind of everybody's go-to benchmark. Very high settings, 4K, we got an average of 214 FPS. No resolution scale was used whatsoever here. Next up, we've got one that's really been hard to run on a lot of systems since its release, Starfield. 4K Ultra with DLSS set to balanced. I mean, there's really no way around it when we're going up to 4K. I was really interested to see if it would even handle it. And yeah, we actually got an average of 76 FPS. And one thing to keep in mind here is we are in a city. So out in open exploration or even indoors, you will see a big jump in performance there. But in these cities, Starfield really does put a toll on any PC that I've ever tested it on. This is awesome, seeing that we're over 60 here at 4K. Next on the list, we've got Spider-Man Miles Morales, and keep in mind, Spider-Man Remastered will net you around the same performance. 4K, very high, no DLSS. I'm seeing an average of around 98 FPS. I mean, we're basically maxed out here, but we can get a lot more out of this by enabling DLSS. We're just going to leave it right there at balanced. And with this, I actually saw close to a 52 FPS jump in performance, going from no DLSS to DLSS balanced, very high 4K with this game. Doom Eternal is another one of those games I always like to test. It's been out for a while, very well optimized. Right now we're at 4K Ultra Nightmare, no resolution scale. We didn't need anything like that. And at Ultra Nightmare, true 4K resolution, we're seeing an average of 211 FPS out of this game. And finally, I had to test out my favorite racing game. We've got Forza Horizon 5, 4K extreme settings. And when I say extreme, I mean I go to the extreme preset and then go down the list, because at that extreme preset, we've still got some settings that we can take up. We're seeing an average of 123 FPS at a true 4K resolution, no DLSS. Another thing I monitor while doing all of my testing was average power consumption from this new GeForce RTX 4070 Ti Super. Looks like we're hitting around 268 watts on average, but I did see some spikes up into the 300s, so definitely keep that in mind. You will need a pretty beefy power supply. They do recommend a 700 watt. I've got an 850 in the rig I've been testing with. When it comes to average GPU temps, this wasn't bad at all, given that we have the ZOTAC Gaming Trinity version with those triple Ice Storm fans. We only saw an average of 67 degrees Celsius on this GPU. So the big question here is it going to be worth picking up the GeForce RTX 4070 Ti Super? And in the end, it's always going to be up to you. Prices on these GPUs have increased significantly, power consumption's also increased, but we're also seeing insane performance in all of these newer AAA games, up to 4K with the 4070 Ti Super. So you really got to think about what you want to do with your PC. Are you looking to get over 200 FPS at 1440p? Is that something you really need? Or could you stick with the RTX 4070? Now personally, I wouldn't upgrade from the 4070 Ti to the Ti Super. But if you've been looking around, thinking about picking up the 4070 Ti, I would definitely go with the Super instead. But that's going to wrap it up for this video. Really appreciate you watching. If you're interested in learning a little more about the ZOTAC Gaming GeForce RTX 4070 Ti Super Trinity Overclock Edition, I will leave some links in the description. If you've got any questions or you want to see anything else tested with the 4070 Ti Super, let me know in the comments below. And like always, thanks for watching.